Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Connelly McCaskill. I am 27 years old, almost 28. I am a mom of two little girls, Branton, who is 4.5, and Valerie, who sadly today just turned 16 months. I cannot believe it. I hope y'all don't mind my casual attire and my makeup that probably does not match the casual attire. It is literally 9:55 at night on a Saturday. I actually just got home from something we have locally called Boo at the Zoo, and it's where you get dressed in your Halloween costumes, hence the makeup, and you take your children and you trick-or-treat from like local vendors, and it's just really cute and really fun. So we're just getting home from that. My kids are asleep, so if you hear like a loud noise, they're upstairs. I'm actually in my den because of the loud noise, which is the sound machine. I keep one in each of their rooms, a dom, and I'm sure all you moms know what that is. And then in the hallway, I actually just keep one that I got on Amazon that sounds like rain, because my youngest daughter is an extremely light sleeper and our dog has toenails, you know, and anything wakes her up. But anyway, so this video has been highly requested, and my story has been asked so many times, and I'm sorry if I'm looking away. I have a ring light, and it is one, hot, and two, it's like super invasive, but that's cool. I need it, so whatever. A few disclaimers. You probably saw from the title what this video is going to be about, but a few disclaimers before I jump into all the nitty-gritty details. Several things. This video is going to dive into my past, and if you are a family member, hey dad, or you know, a close friend, and there are things about my past that you don't want to know, then just go ahead and click out of this video. If you are recovering from a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction or anything, and this video will be triggering to you at all, please click out of this video. Death will be mentioned in this video, so if that offends you or upsets you, please again click out of this video. For those of you who know me personally and have grown up around me, you already know pretty much who this video is talking about, so if that topic upsets you, no names will be mentioned, but again, if you know me, then you know where this is going. So if that upsets you, please just click out. This is just a forewarning so that feelings don't get hurt, people don't get upset. I don't want that on my conscience. Also, and I think this is lastly what I'm going to say. Well, actually it's not, but okay, so totally just lost my train of thought. Okay, never mind, here I am. Y'all, I'm sorry, it's like past my bedtime. I obviously had an issue, but my issues were not as bad as some people's were, but everyone has their demons and everyone is different, and I pray and hope that me being this vulnerable and open and honest, that people are not going to judge me based off a past that I cannot change, that I'm not ashamed of. I'm not like woo about it, obviously, because I made the wrong decisions, and I'm not going to say wrong, because I'm here on this couch in my house with my family because of every decision that I've ever made. It set me up for right where I am right now. So I'm not going to say wrong decisions, but I made really crappy decisions a lot of times, and I just hope that instead of judging me on those, which I know some people are going to, but instead of judging me on those, you just realize the person that I have become from what I have gone through. Okay, so here we are. My name is Connelly McCaskill, and I am an addict. and this is my story. Okay, I didn't write any of this down or anything, so I'm going to try to keep it as straight and narrow as I can, but oh, I'm sorry, I really thought, okay, I'm sorry, I had to check my camera because I thought I just sat here and like started spilling my guts and I wasn't recording. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna try to be as I can, but I didn't want to take the time to write down talking points because I didn't want it to be scripted, because it's, again, like 10 o'clock at night. I'm in my comfy clothes. I'm just relaxing. I just want to be chill with y'all and be real. So, let me get a little swiggy of water. Actually, you can see that. That's my husband's company, but I thought it had our local, like, area code on it, but it doesn't. Okay. So, my, some people don't consider alcohol a drug, but it is a drug. So my drug of choice is alcohol. Now that's obviously not the only drug, if you will, that I've ever done, but I'll get into all that. So, I remember the first drink that I ever had, like most people in the world. My parents drank when I was growing up, but like, who cares? It was never an issue. But my point is there was alcohol kept in our house. Now, in no way, shape, or form is this their fault. I hung out with the same girls for a long time, but I hung out with one specific friend who had cousins that lived in West Virginia, and they were older, and they smoked pot and drank and did all this stuff, and it kind of came back with her. And I'm not saying it's her fault. Nobody ever poured alcohol down my throat and like forced me to drink it. Like, that's not the case at all. But it was just brought back like, hey, do you want to try this? You know, and like, okay, sure, whatever. Well, anyway, so a group of us got into my parents' vodka. My parents were not really liquor drinkers, but my grandma, God rest her soul, liked her screwdrivers, so they always kept vodka in the house for when she visited. And I'm sorry, y'all, have asthma and a little bit of a cold, so if I keep like, I'm also kind of nervous, so just bear with me. Yeah, so my girlfriends and I, my parents were obviously not home. They're very social people, and they were like out or something. We were 12 years old. And at 12, they obviously hadn't gone far, but point is we got into some screwdrivers because we didn't even know what else to mix vodka with. We were kids, you know, just like children. 12 years old. But anyway, I have a nephew. He's my cousin's son, kind of a nephew, and he's like about to be 13, and I can't even imagine him being drunk, like, anyway, whatever. So that was my first drink at 12 years old, screwdrivers. We ended up getting drunk, nobody puked, wasn't a big deal. Now, fast forward, around that same age, I was in 6th grade, and I went through this like emo, if you will, stage. I think everybody goes through stages. I've been like a redneck, I've been a skater chick, I've been like all these things. But in my emo stage, we all started smoking pot. And smoking pot is not, you know, not a big deal to me at this day and age. Now, when you're 12 years old smoking pot, that's a whole different story, unless you know, have medical reasons for that. But 12, 13, that's when sneaking out and, oh sorry, there's like a number on my camera, and I thought there was something on my forehead, and I was like, what? So like 12, 13, that's, I mean, y'all, and that is so young, but that's when sneaking out of the house started, hanging out with people that were 17, 18, 20. I remember one of them was 21 years old, and we're kids, but we are sneaking out, we're smoking cigarettes, we're smoking pot. I mean, all hours of the night. I got so good at sneaking out of my parents' house that I knew, because they have a 3-story house, and my room was on the top floor, their room was in the middle, but the back doors were glass, so they when you opened them. So I figured out, they have hardwood floors, and I figured out which boards in the house squeaked, and I would sneak all the way down and sneak out the door in the basement. Anyway, and so that's kind of when all of that started, and I ended up getting caught at by my dad at one point. I was supposed to be somewhere and I wasn't, and instead I was hanging out with all these people, and the guy who, the 21-year-old, who, God, now I guess he's like 34, 35, he's actually in the military. He's straightened up, which is fantastic. But yeah, so, but that, you know, getting caught still didn't stop me. I don't want to say everybody in my town did that. It seemed like it to me. I'm like, psh, everybody's doing it, but it was just like just who I was associating with. And I don't really remember. I guess I was in like the 8th grade when I started dating this boy, and he was a little bit older than me. And God, I guess it was the 8th grade, and he would give me rides home, like so he could drive, so he must have been in 10th grade, which is right because he is 2 years older than me. And we would smoke a little pot, and we'd smoke pot around my parents' pool, or like whatever. But pot, what gets you high in pot is THC, and it's like clinically proven, like you cannot get dependent upon THC. Like if you stop smoking reefer, you're not gonna like have withdrawals, you're not gonna shake or puke or get cold sweats, like none of that happens. So like that's a proven fact. So till this day, I'm almost 28 years old, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but like I've never bought drugs. If they were around and they were offered to me, I'd be like, cool. But at the time, you know, just smoking pot was just fun. But I was still so young, y'all. I was literally like, what are you in the 8th grade? Like 13? It's just crazy. Well, and then like I just kind of like grew out of that. I just really just kind of decided that smoking pot was like kind of harder to hide from my parents. I would come home, or like we'd smoke pot in the driveway or whatever, and then I'd go inside. And my parents both worked full time, so I would get home before they did. So I would just like go lay down for a nap, or whatever. But I could lie as easy as I breathed. And for me, talking drunk was a lot easier than talking when I was high. So I just really didn't, I just decided that smoking pot wasn't what I wanted to do. So I stopped that. Well, this is kind of where everything picks up. Like, so until that point, I had drank. I had been drunk, but it wasn't an issue. I had smoked pot more than I had drank, but I decided like I'm good. Like, I don't want to do that. So this is kind of where it picks up. I start, oh, sorry, I don't know if y'all heard that. Oh, crack. Oh, crack. Okay, so this is where it's going to get hard for me to talk about. Because this is where everything, like, my whole life spirals out of control. So I go into the 9th grade, and of course, there is a boy. And he will remain, I can't even talk, I'm so nervous. He will remain nameless for privacy reasons for his family, and I did have their permission to film this. I let them know that I was going to be mentioning him in this, even though he's nameless. I just felt like I should, you know, be up front before I put this out on YouTube for the entire whoever to see. There was a boy. At that point, he was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. He had a smile that just made me weak in the knees, and I would always see him in the hallway, and I just had like the biggest secret crush on him, because like we had never talked. We had never talked. We had like, but he would smile at me like when he passed me. I would always be going into Mrs. Compton's math class, and we would just pass and he would smile at me, and it just like made my whole day. And finally one day, a buddy of mine, I hung out with a bunch of guys, and I don't want y'all to take that the wrong way, but for me, I had my girlfriends, of course I did, but like I hung out with guys to this day, and I never kissed them, I never hooked up with them. They were just like my homies, like we were just cool. So my friend actually and I were going to go hunting. I had never been hunting. He just asked me if I wanted to go, and I felt like it was an opportunity to probably like drink and have fun, whatever. And I know that may sound like scandalous to y'all, but if y'all knew this person that I'm talking about, like it was not at all. Like we were just like buddies. Like he would like hit me in the shoulder like one of the guys. Like it was not like that. But why that's relevant, I'm actually getting into his truck for us to go. And here comes. Oh, I'm sorry, my camera cut off. It said it got too hot and I had to let it cool down. So I think what I was saying was why this is relevant was because here comes boy. And he wanted to come with us. I actually had he was not my boyfriend at this time. We had been boyfriend-girlfriend. Y'all, so dramatic. We had been boyfriend-girlfriend and we were broken up. But he invited me to the football game that night because he played football at our high school. So after I went hunting with Friend was supposed to take me back to the high school to watch Rekindling with Boyfriend play football. But the boy was like, oh, I live right by there, like I'll take you home. Friend can just go. He doesn't want to go to the football game. I'll take you. And I was a good girl, y'all. I was like, well, you know, I'm trying to, you know, my ex-boyfriend and I are like trying to rekindle our flame, you know, whatever. I'm sure I didn't say those exact words, but I flat out was straight up and like told him I needed to go see my maybe man play football. Well, this slick little snake, y'all, he acted like he got lost from where we were hunting to get back, and we were out for hours and hours. Total BS, but like I thought we were lost. I didn't know until he told me later that that was a lie. But honestly, I was like smitten, like I didn't care, like whatever. And I promise this is going into my addiction story. It's not like about ex-boyfriend. Oh, I just gave away a secret that y'all didn't know yet. But anyway, he takes me home and we exchanged phone numbers, and that was kind of it. Rekindled the flame, boy, that never happened. So here was the boy. And he was older than I was, and he kind of had a reputation of like being a player, whatever. But honestly, him being a bad boy just made him so much more appealing to me. So we started dating, and I fell in love with him. I mean, head over heels. He meant the entire world to me. Now that I look back, I am ADD, prescription ADD. I don't take anything for it now, but I would take him my Adderall. Red flag. And he had told me that his family moved here because he wrapped his car around a tree when he lived in Memphis, which is Tennessee. And he had mentioned previously like dabbling in cocaine or whatever. And now that I look at it, for someone so young to have, you know, already tried cocaine and whatever is like, wow, you know, and you wrecked your car drunk, like that's red flags now. But then I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as something that he had done that was in the past, and that's what that was. You know, whatever. And you know, but that's kind of, and I'm sorry. Back when I was like 12 was the first time I like ever smoked a cigarette, y'all. But it was just hit or miss. If a cigarette was offered to me, I would smoke it, whatever. But when I started dating this boy, he looked a lot older than he was. He was older than me, but he looked a lot older than he was. Keep in mind, I'm like 14 years old. And I think he's like 16. And 15, I guess. 15, 16. And, you know, come to think of it, he actually lied to me about his age. He actually, he was 15, but he told me. And y'all, I don't want y'all to get the wrong idea of him. Because, like, it may sound like he was like a POS, but he wasn't. He just had demons. And here I am telling y'all my demons. Anyway, that's when really smoking cigarettes started. He didn't get carded at this one gas station near our high school, so that's really when smoking cigarettes started. And there was one specific lady there that would sell him beer, and that's kind of when that started, because it's this number on the screen keeps tripping me out, but it was easily accessible. So that's kind of when that started. He still smoked a little bit of pot. I think I only smoked pot with him like one time. But that's kind of when, you know, drinking became like fun. We would go to parties and we would whatever, but then like kind of the jealousy kicked in, and that doesn't matter anyway. So that's when the drinking started. And yeah, so we dated for a while. We dated for, I guess, only about a year. But when you're 14 years old, that's a long time, right? So, and then it just got to be, he was a jealous person, and not, you know, we were oil and water. But God knows I loved him. I mean, I can't say that enough. And that will become relevant momentarily. We started school. I started the 10th grade on a Thursday, and we'd only been broken up briefly, and we still, you know, if we saw each other, or there were still text messages and phone calls happening, and yeah, but we started school on a Thursday, and he went to a party on a Friday, and technically it goes into it being Saturday morning. And said boy and a really good friend of mine that I'd been friends with for years were together. They were best friends, and at 2:40 a.m. they got in a car accident which killed my friend on sight, and said boy ended up passing away later on the operating table from an aortic bleed. And that was August 13th, 2006. And y'all, that's when my life fell apart. So, alcohol and, you know, cigarettes and smoking pot had been introduced, but nothing any more than that. And at that point, alcohol still wasn't like a necessity. It was just, you know, I was just a normal teenager, you know, in high school that would drink beer at a party or, you know, whatever. But it was so traumatic for me how he passed away, because I had never lost anyone other than my grandmother at that point, and I was 4 years old when she passed away. So, you know, at 4 years old, you don't remember very much. And she was ill, so it wasn't sudden. It wasn't they were here and then they weren't. And what made it even worse about that accident was that it was in August. Prom is in April, you know, but my school ended up putting the truck out in front of our high school around prom every single year to demonstrate what drinking and driving could do to someone's, and to see the things that I had to see. I saw where he broke his neck. Blood. I pulled his hair out from the toolbox where his head busted through the back glass. Like, and I'm just telling y'all that because it is relevant. It was so freaking traumatizing. Like, it was just so completely traumatizing. And that's when my life fell apart. I mean, that's when my life literally, like, you know, that's when SHIT hit the fan. I thought it was going to kill me. I really did. I've never, to this day, nothing has ever hurt that bad. I have since lost my grandmother and my grandfather, and, you know, my grandmother died of cancer, and I read her scripture as she, you know, took her last breaths, and my granddad was almost 90, so it was expected, you know, and I accepted those things, but to this day, nothing has ever hurt that bad, or just, anyway, so, I didn't care. The principals at school, y'all, after that, I didn't go back to school for like 2 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so depressed. I went to see a psychiatrist. I got put on Zoloft. I was on, like, that's an antidepressant. I was just, I didn't care. I went from being this fun, loving high school student. I got voted by my peers into my school pageant every year to just, you know that song, I don't give a damn about my bad reputation. You know, that was me. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care. I was smoking cigarettes like a train. Like, my parents obviously didn't know this, but I was smoking cigarettes like, you know, like a freight train or whatever. You know, puff, cigarette. And I, you know, I still wasn't, you know, doing anything else, but I was drinking, you know, to, like, feel better. You know, and obviously time goes by, and I started dating this guy, and he was super popular into, like, you know, school sports, whatever, and me and my girlfriends, there were 6 of us girls, and we just thought that it was just like,